Okay. Okay, Rabotai, welcome back to another great series of Evean HaEzer Halacha series. We are continuing in Siman Aleph and Halacha Hey. This will be part 2 of the Shu'ur, and this will conclude the Halacha. We are continuing the Pitchei Teshuvah in Ot Chet Dibra Matchil Saris. The Pitchei Teshuvah begins and he says, An Berheitev B'Shem Cham. Look into the Berheitev in the name of the Cham, in the name of Cham, which we actually did in part 1 of the Shu'ur. The imhem ru'uyim leholid, if the children are childbearing children, ela, but rather what? Haben nasa al yonid, the boy decided to marry a girl who's not childbearing. Vihi nisu'a lesaris, and the girl decided to marry a boy who's not childbearing. Avihim patur mi Pru Urvo, the father is exempt from doing the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. We say that we give him the mitzvah, that he fulfilled the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, and we don't ask him to bring more children to the world. Ubecham katav od, and in the Cham he wrote furthermore, or shelo nasa'u klal, or that they didn't get married at all. We saw over there clearly that the father also fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. And the Berheitev, he did not copy the language of the Cham for this third case because it's obvious. It's how much more so. So what is the Pitchei Teshuvah telling us? The Pitchei Teshuvah is telling us, if you guys remember in the Berheitev, what we did in part 1 of the Shu'ur for Halacha Hey, over there we saw that the Berheitev only brought 2 cases from the 3 cases that the Cham brings down. Remember, the Berheitev always calls the Cham or the Bash, meaning the Nosei Klim in whatever given subject you're speaking about. So in this case, he brought the opinion of the Cham and he brought the opinion of the Bash, but he didn't quote the third opinion of the Cham. So the Cham said 3 opinions. The Cham said if you have a childbearing boy, and he went ahead and he married a girl who is not childbearing. Case number 1. Case number 2, if you have a girl that's childbearing, and she went ahead and she married a boy who is not childbearing, who's sterile. Case number 2. The Cham said, what happens if you have the childbearing boy and girl that they never get married? Case number 3. In all of these cases, came the Cham and he says, the father fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. So comes the Pitchei Teshuvah. The Pitchei Teshuvah says, from these 3 cases, the Berheitev only took 2 cases down. Meaning when the children were childbearing, it's just they married spouses which are not childbearing. But why didn't the Berheitev also quote the third opinion if they never get married at all? Because he says that's obvious, that you don't have to say. Meaning like this, that if we're going to tell you where you have childbearing children getting married to non-childbearing spouses, we're going to give the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. How much more so where you have childbearing children that never got married? Because you have to understand, theoretically speaking, they have the capability of getting married and bringing children to the world. But by these children that are childbearing and that are getting married to spouses which are not childbearing, over there, for sure they're not going to have children. 100%. So if over there 100% they're not going to have children, and you're telling me the father fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, how much more so in the case where they don't get married, where they don't get married, we're also going to give the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Okay, Rabotai, if you want to get a better understanding, please listen to part 1 of the Shu'ur. You'll see the whole thing was beautiful. Now, here we go, Rabotai. This is what we want to deal with today. There's a sefer that's called Sefer Bnei Ahua. He disagrees with the Cham. He doesn't understand the Cham. He's going to conclude he doesn't understand how the Cham in these 3 cases, right, Rabotai, we'll say 3 cases, so you guys already know what it is. In these 3 cases, the Cham says the father fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Comes to the Sefer Bnei Ahua and says, I don't understand. How can the father fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo in these 3 cases? So in the end, we're going to conclude, the Sefer Bnei Ahua is going to say, Tzarech Iyun. You need to look halachically in depth to see if the father really fulfilled the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. But according to the Cham and the Bash, clearly, Rabotai, the father does fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, and the halacha is like them. Okay, let's see what the Pitchei Teshuvah has to say. Ve'ayin b'sefer Bnei Ahua. Look into the book called Bnei Ahua, Perek Tetvav, Mehilchot Ishut, Halacha Hey, chapter 15, from the Halachot of marriages, law number 5. Shemipakpek azeh. He questions this whole business of giving the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo in those 3 cases. Why? Because from the fact that we hold halachically, hayulo banim umetu lo kiyem pru urvu mishum diba in yatzara. Because we know halachically, Rabotai, we'll see this later on, Another, that if the father had children, he had a boy and a girl, and lo lein Rabotai, lo lein and nobody Rabotai, chas v'shalom. Nobody should ever know of this. And his children died in his lifetime. The halacha says the father did not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo because we need the father to still continue with the mitzvah of the Shevet Yatzar, that the world has to be populated. So if he would have left childbearing children, where potentially or hypothetically speaking or theoretically speaking, they are able to bring the children, it's just they don't want to, okay, we can say that the father is doing the mitzvah of the Shevet Yatzar because he left somebody behind him to go ahead and continue the mitzvah. It's something that they don't want to do, but what do you want from the father? But he's telling you over here, but in this case, where the children died, who's going to continue populating the world? So that's why we say the father doesn't get the mitzvah Pru Urvo. Rabotai, that's a scary fact. That if the father had a boy and a girl and they died in his lifetime, and we'll see in Halacha 6, and they didn't leave children after them, the father does not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, because there has to be still the Shevet Yatzar, the continuation of the mitzvah of the Shevet Yatzar, by populating the world with people. Who's going to do it? The children are not here. That means the father didn't do the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. That means the father has to start bringing more children in order to fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, and then to have the mitzvah of also the Shevet Yatzar. So Rabotai, one more time. Let's do this one more time. He says, look into the Sefer Bnei Ahoa, Shibil Pakpek Azeh. He questioned the Cham in all those three cases. Why? From the fact that this is what we hold halachically. If the father had children and they died, we're going to tell you the father does not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, because we need the land to be populated with people, and there's nobody to follow suit. If so, if that is the halacha over there, where the father does not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo because he doesn't have nobody to continue his family lineage, let's put it to you like that. If so, gam elu. So what's the difference in this case? So to these, gam elu banim shelo nasu nashim sofam lamut. So to these boys that they never went ahead and they never got married in the end, they're going to die below zero. They're going to die without children. So how is that different than when you had children die in the father's lifetime? Rabotai, one more time. I want to make it clear. It says like this. If so, these boys that went ahead and the childbearing children that went ahead and they did not want to get married, meaning two women, so falamut, in the end they're going to die below zero without any children. So what is the difference between when children die in the father's lifetime? You are saying the father doesn't do the mitzvah of Pru Urvo because there's nobody to continue the mitzvah. I don't get it. Over here also, even though a person has childbearing children, but if they don't want to get married and in the end they're going to die without children, why you, the Cham, are giving the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? Why? So this is what's really bothering the Sefer Bnei Ahoa. Okay, Rabotai, that's the question. So however he says, maybe he said, I can try to answer for the Cham, but I myself, I'm not sure, he says. He says, Ach bezeh efshar lomar, it's, however, in this, it's possible to say, the davka metu b'chayei ha'av, lo ken Pru Urvo. That specifically when the children Lolenu die in the father's lifetime, that we're going to tell you that the father does not do the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Why is that, Rabotai? Because when the father is alive, and he has childbearing children, and chas v'shalom Lolenu Rabotai, nobody, and they died in his lifetime, so the father is there, he sees, correct? He sees there's nobody to continue, there's nobody else to populate the land. So then we're going to tell the father, he doesn't do the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, he has to bring children in order to be able to continue bringing children. Hypothetically or theoretically, we want them to bring children, but I'm not concerned if they're going to bring children or not. That's what the Sefer Bnei Yehoshua is saying like this. When it's speaking about children that died in the father's lifetime, the father that he can see, there's nobody else to continue after him. That's why we cannot give him the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, because we need to be able to continue to populate the world. But in the case where he has childbearing children, and they never want to get married, and in the end they're going to die without children, chas v'shalom, you're going to give the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? Yes. Why? Because hypothetically speaking, if they wanted to, they could have. What do you want from the father? The father did his step. The children have to do their step. The children don't want to do their step. That's their problem. But the father does fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. That's how the saying goes. You can bring the horse to the water, but you can make the horse drink the water. Same thing, Rabotai. That's the whole concept over here. That's why the Sefer Bnei Yehoshua, he's trying to say, I can try to understand why you, Cham, are telling me why the father fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo by the case where he has childbearing children and they never get married, even though they're going to die without children. I can understand why you give the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, because how much control does he have over his children? What do you want him to do? They don't want to get married. What do you want the father to do? He did his part. What? Maybe he should also go ahead and feed them and change their diaper when they're 30 or 40. Doesn't make sense, Rabotai. So that's why maybe comes the Bnei Yehoshua and he says maybe that's why you, the Cham, want to say that the father in that case fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, but in the case where they died in his lifetime, the father could do something about it, because now it's in his hands. He's able to go bring more children, and they're able to go ahead and populate the land. Over here, what do you want him to do? He already did his mission. Okay. That was regarding childbearing children, not wanting to get married at all. We're going to give the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, and we cannot compare it to the case where the children died in the father's lifetime, as we explained. Comes the Bnei Yehoshua, and he says like this. But he says like this, but what are you going to do with this case? Because remember, by the case of the childbearing children, right, they don't get married, correct? They don't want to get married. So in the end of the time, they're going to die without children, fine. But hypothetically or theoretically speaking, if they wanted to get married, could they get married? Could they really have children? Good, so I'll give the father mitzvah Pru Urvo. But listen to this case. He said, but this, I don't know how to make sense of it, he says. But if you have a daughter who's childbearing and she married a boy who's sterile, the vaday lo tolid. Over there, what are you going to tell me theoretically? What do you want to tell me? What are you going to tell? Theoretically, she's able to bring children to the world. Potentially, what do you want to tell me? But she married a person who can't have children. You know 100% she's not going to have children. So how did you tell me? So how does the father fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? With what is the father fulfilling the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? There's no mitzvah for him. How is the case, Chas v'shalom lo lin Rabotai, where the children died in his lifetime, he doesn't fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo because there's no children. And the father has to do something about it. Beautiful of you also. When you had a bearing child, he went and he married a sterile child, a sterile spouse that cannot have children. Good, why is this different than the case over there? Exactly the same case, exactly that case. In that case, you see, there's no children. In this case also, you see there's no children. There's no children. So why did you tell me that the father does not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? How did you, the Cham, tell me the father fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? Why is this not different than the case where the children Lolenu died in the father's lifetime? Comes the Sefer Bnei Yehoshua, and he wants to try to go ahead and try to maybe give an explanation for the Cham why they do fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Why? So he says, V'chi tolin shigarsha habal. What do you want? What do you expect the daughter to divorce the husband? Or shiyamut? What do you want? Or do you expect the husband to die? What do you want? What do you want from the father? But you have to understand. You're telling me right now, you want to go ahead and compare the two cases, but they're not comparable. Because you're right, she already got married, and it's not doable. They're right, they're not going to have children. So what do you want? What do you want the father? To go ahead and divorce them? What do you want the father to do? He should die. He should pray that he die. You can't do it, Rabotai. Again, she's already married. You're right, she's not going to have children, but the father did his due diligence. The father he took care of business. He brought children that were childbearing. It's just the children made the wrong decisions. Since we cannot expect the daughter to divorce the sterile guy, or we don't daven for the guy that he should die, Rabotai, so therefore maybe you could give it to the father. Because really, in reality, the daughter is childbearing, she's still here. He did what he had to do. He brought a child who's childbearing. But Rabotai, came the Sefer Bnei Ahova, and he says, Ubecham hechlit gam bezed yatzav. The Cham decided that in this case also, the father fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, ulididi tzarech iyun. He says, according to me, the Sefer Bnei Ahova says, according to me, it needs to further be looked into. Ayin Sham, look over there. According to the Sefer Bnei Ahova, when you tell him that if you have childbearing children and they never want to get married, he says, I don't understand why you gave the father mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Or the other case, where the childbearing children went ahead and they married children that are not childbearing, meaning spouses that are not childbearing, he doesn't understand on what basis does the father fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Nevertheless, we saw the answer that he wanted to give. He wants it, maybe it's not comparable, right? And maybe, what do you want? You want the father to divorce her? What do you want? You want the guy to die? What do you want? So really he wants to say, okay, according to the Cham, it's implied that there is a way where the father can do the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. But he says, according to me, the Sefer Bnei Ahova says, it still needs to be looked into. Halachically speaking, Rabotai, we're going to go with the Shulchan Aruch, the Cham, and the Bash. Because the Shulchan Aruch did clearly say, the Shulchan Aruch said that if a person has a boy and a girl that are childbearing, he fulfills the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. But then the Shulchan Aruch added these important words. But if the father had non-childbearing children, he doesn't fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. If that was not the only case, if we want to say like the Sefer Bnei Ahova, maybe it could have been the other case where they never got married. Maybe also over there he doesn't fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Or maybe where they married children that are not, meaning spouses that are not childbearing. Maybe over there also he didn't do mitzvah of Pru Urvo. So good. So like the Cham said in Odhei, so why didn't the Shulchan Aruch say it? The Shulchan Aruch should have said, not that his children are not childbearing. He should have said a greater novelty. He should have said that even if the children that are childbearing go ahead and marry non-childbearing children, over there he doesn't fulfill the mitzvah. He didn't say that. He only gave you one case. The case is, when do we say the father does not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? That's when the children are not childbearing. Why did you, the Shulchan Aruch, limit to the children themselves? Why didn't you go outside the box and give it to other people? Or say even better, when does the father fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo? That's when he has childbearing children. But if these childbearing children never get married, you don't fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Why didn't the Shulchan Aruch say it? So comes according to the Cham. Since the Shulchan Aruch never went out of his way to say those words, we're going to tell you, when does the father not fulfill his obligation of Pru Urvo? That's only in one case and one case only. That's specifically, Rabotai, where the children are not childbearing. But if the children are childbearing, we're going to give the credit to the father of the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. Now, Rabotai, before we do conclude, let me just see something. Okay. Okay. Rabotai, just let's do a small review for Halacha Hey. Halacha said that since a person had a boy and a girl which are childbearing, we give the father the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. But had the father brought into the world children that are not childbearing, the father does not fulfill the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. But we did see, because of that rule, we saw exceptions also where it seems that the father should not be yoyed to the mitzvah of Pru Urvo, but still we're going to give it to him. Which were the three cases. That if you had the boy who's childbearing, or the girl that's childbearing, if they went ahead and they married spouses which are not childbearing, still we're going to tell you the father fulfilled the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. And the third case we saw, what happens if the children never want to get married? No problem, but that's not a problem, but Rabotai, the father fulfills this mitzvah. Even in such a case, we're going to give it to him, we're going to give him the mitzvah of Pru Urvo. We did see over here in the Sefer Bnei Ahua, he questioned the Cham's ruling, and he said it needs to be looked into. Halachas like the Shulchan Aruch, like the Cham and the Bash. Rabotai, have a great day.